Welcome back to War Thunder and welcome aboard the AMX-13 SS.11. So Gaijin was nice to me and they provided this tank for me. And the question is this tank worth it? And I have to say I made multiple attempts to record a video. And I actually rendered some of the videos and I thought, boy, I had a good game, 5 kills, 6 kills, 7 kills. And then it went on and I had the consistency in the results. And now I have to say, this tank is currently good. It's not everything good about this tank, it has major flaws, but I just have to make this video, in my opinion, to go out and say there is one problem. I am saying this from the perspective of somebody that had recently played the Begleitpanzer for 100 games, knows how to play on large maps, sees the advantages and disadvantages, and is patient, shoots at the side, marks the enemy for his team, waits for the good opportunity, surprises the enemy, and not goes straight for the objective. So light tanks are not for everybody. They are not very good on every map. Not every encounter goes in their favor, and it's easy to look at them and say, oh, they are not good. But, the AMX-13 SS.11 is a tank that I think is really good. So, what is so good about it? What is so bad about it? Armor, practically non-existent. But then you have decent mobility. Not outstanding mobility, but decent. In fact, the horsepower to ton ratio with 17.4, it's not that special on paper, but it's good enough to bring you where you need to be to make the most out of your positioning. Then the firepower. Well, you have an autoloader with 12 round magazines that have a reload of 45 seconds per magazine, and you have 5 seconds reload per between the shots in the magazine, and you also have 4 ATGMs. So how do those kind of things perform? Is it some version of a diet Stridswagen 81, or is it bad RE251? How does it stack up against the Object Nano 6? What about the comparison to, for example, a Walker Bulldog? Well, this tank is completely different. First of all, I think the gun might be at first a weakness when you look at it. You have solid shot with 180 millimeters of penetration. That sounds not good. That absolutely doesn't sound good, but in fact it does the job. I personally favor it from a pure light tank perspective over the pure chemical energy based weapon systems that the RE251 uses. I can shoot through walls, I can shoot through bushes and all this great stuff, and also I can shoot enemies from behind through the engine block and still kill the entirety of the crew, mostly one-shotting the enemy tank. And this is one of the secrets of the tank, positioning. Back to the weapon system. Solid shots got buffed. They got a good buff. So the spawning effect is bigger. You don't have it anymore that you practically miss the enemy by just a few centimeters and you do absolutely no damage, like mid-tier Brits are famous for that, or rather infamous. So this is not a drawback. 5-second reload between the shots. You have to be careful. If an enemy has like 20 degrees per second turret rotation speed and you are on his side, he can rotate the turret towards you before you can shoot him when you have shot him in the engine before. So you have to judge the reload. But then you have the ATGMs. You have 4 of them. They are very prominent on top of the tank, and yes, when they get hit directly with, for example, heat, solid shots, APHE, everything, they explode. If they get hit by aircraft, they explode. If they get hit by artillery strikes, they explode if they receive a direct hit. Splash damage might not be the problem, and I'm not quite sure if the vehicle is susceptible to heat, hull break. We have to see. But it has no stabilizer and it wobbles quite a bit around before you can make the first shot. And this is where it comes to positioning. and positioning is really great. And then there is the spotting mechanic. For example, you can spot an enemy, you press the button, and it gets illuminated on the minimap for everybody on your team to see and to shoot, and you get a reward. Speaking about reward, you get a ton. You get literally a ton of reward, and I really like that. I had just a game just a few rounds ago where I made like 5 kills and 3 capture zones in a rather small matchup, and I got 100,000 silver lines and 12,000 research points. So it sounds too good to be true, yet the tank can easily be one-shot. And 180 millimeters, you cannot destroy a Tiger 2 with your gun from the front, and you need to aim with the ATGM, but it provides you with 600 millimeters of penetration, but it just flies with 150 meters per second, and it's hand guided. So not the easiest rocket to make work, but I think I can do it with the side. I wait with the shooting up until the tank is so far out of cover that he cannot hide in cover anymore. I used a little bit of exercises with those rockets. I can now fly them around trees and bushes and guide them into the target. So yeah, I like this tank, and it would be a shame if certain people insist on their bad judgment for this tank. It requires a very opportunistic playstyle, flanking the right map. But there are maps that benefit heavy tanks, there are maps that benefit light tanks, long-range snipers, short-range brawlers. This is why we have a map rotation, but this tank can find its way if played right. I learned this even more with the Big Light Panzer, which I made work, and I think battle rating for battle rating, it's superior to the Big Light Panzer. It has obviously just 6 degrees of gun depression, to begin here to talk about certain other stats, but just 13 degrees of gun elevation with the oscillating turret design. But with that turret design, I don't know if it's directly with this turret design or just the French flavor, is the 30 degrees per second turret rotation speed, which is great for brawling, which is great to reacquire targets and so forth, and to keep the gun on target in a brawling situation, which you should avoid, but you still can make work. One of the drawbacks that you have is also your reverse gear, and I'm sorry about this joke, but I thought it would go backwards faster than forwards. 60 kilometers an hour forwards, you can reach on hard terrain 30 to 40. I'm sorry, on medium terrain. On hard terrain you go over 50 from time to time. Reverse gear, just 6 kilometers an hour, is a drawback. It feels a little bit like a Panther, but I think this is a drawback that we have to live with. So 6 degrees of gun depression, not very good reverse gear, so your cover should be more plain. Spotting the enemy, this is also a new tool in War Thunder. You can nowadays spot the enemy with 3 different things for the rest of your team. You call him out on the minimap with pinging the position or writing it in chat. You shoot him and the marker pops up for a very short time, or you mark him with using the spotting mechanic. So you bind a key for it. For example, I did it for O, or one of the mouse buttons that you haven't used already, and you just aim at him with the gunner's view, or you just use the binoculars and aim at him with the center, press the button, and he gets illuminated for like, I don't know, a minute or so. And so you can get a lot of points with this as well. Spawn points, research points, and so forth, you name it. One drawback at the moment might be for the tank that it gets spammed out, which is something that is always a problem when a new nation gets added, despite Gaijins try to hide it behind a paywall. Too many players are willing to spend money on the game, which is good. It's a free-to-play title. It lists from that. No hard feelings about this. This is how it should be, but because it's more or less nation versus nation, if one nation gets heavily spammed out, you see the problem. The matchmaker has a problem. So at lower tiers in particular, where people try to normally get into the fights, the matchmaker has problems. And the lower tier French tanks are not the choice to play. Some of them might be okay, but I mean, they have a tank that fires APCR as stock ammunition with 36 millimeters of... Oh god. No way. This is pain. This is the definition of pain. So, as you can see in the background, I made my 5th kill in this battle, and I'm capturing the 3rd point. The enemy team is nearly done, just one enemy player left. And yeah, so the good sides, I think, are so much better than the bad sides. It's just my experience. I didn't expect it, I have to be honest. Looking at the tank, having played tanks such as the Big Light Panzer 57 or the BMP-1 with both ATGM variants, I think I know how to deal with the enemy and how to directly aim at them and so forth. I just think the tank suits one playstyle that I have when I try to fit the requirements of the vehicle and try to adapt it to the battle, so I can get my results. I grinded a lot today, a lot, and yeah, I think, let me just quickly look up the stats. I played now 38 battles today and I died in 32 of them, but I had 60 kills. And with this, I nearly researched halfway through tier 3. So everything without booster, just with a premium account and with the premium tank status. So I think, in my opinion, the tank is fully worth it. It is having it's having a better time than, for example, the RE251. I didn't encounter too many Russians. The matchmaker was nice. It might just be a temporarily thing, but as you could see with how I played it, I one-shotted so many enemies. I disabled so many of them, just being able to get many kills. And yeah, sure, there are matches where you get killed right away, but in which tank doesn't this happen? So here we have the income: 100,000 silver lines, 12,600 vehicle research points. I think this is a good result. The ammunition is for free, repair costs are not the highest either, so I had a good result. And a survivor badge, which is always a good sign, being first in team with over 2,100 score points. My final verdict is, this tank will not suit everybody. It has its limitations, but it's not the extreme power creep as, for example, a Stridswagen 81 was with its introduction. That's it for me today, so thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Please give this video a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll see each other on the battlefields of War Thunder.